We are going to quantum shift to the level that we can actually detach from what we think the outcome needs to look like and how it needs to happen. Welcome back to part 4 of The Universe is Always Working in Your Favor. So I'm going to continue the story about this event that I had and everything went wrong. Literally everything went wrong. And yet it was a gift in disguise. So the next morning after the workshop, I was holding an in-person frequency clinic, the very first in-person frequency clinic that I have ever held, which was super exciting. So it was a small group of people, and this is where we get to work individually, where I tap into people's energy fields and I just see what's going on. And then I was able to actually do this in person because before this, I've only ever done it really via Zoom. I booked this really cute, beautiful place in Beverly Hills and everything was perfect. And I was like, great. I got all the hard stuff done. We get to the location, and the building's locked, and we're like, okay, what's going on? And I have no choice but to hold the frequency clinic in that hallway. And again, I'm being called to a higher level of, all right, trusting that this is not why we came here. We didn't just come here so that we can be in this beautiful room in Beverly Hills. We came here for this deep work. And it actually really became this amazing opportunity for us to come back to ourselves, for us to come back into the present moment. Because how many times do we go to the comfort? But that's not really living. And so even in your own life, how do you rely on comfort, rely on what's predictable, rely on what you're expecting to give you a sense of safety and security so that you don't actually have to even be present with yourself? How often do we just turn on Netflix and then we just zone out and we're like, okay, pretty pictures, right? Fun. And then we completely disconnect from ourselves. We completely disconnect from the present moment of us. We're disconnecting from the life, from the experience of life itself. So when we got into the zone and I led people through this activation of getting back into our center, because I desperately needed it at that point, because I was like, oh my God, I don't have the things that I want to rely on, like a nice pretty room with nice pillows on the floor, right? All of us, we're sitting on this hard floor. Our butts are hurting. It's uncomfortable. But again, it's like an analogy to when life throws you challenges. Most people, they get a challenge, their minds go all over the place and they're frantic and they're trying to make sense of it and we're trying to fix it and running around, right? Like a headless chicken just trying to fix it. What if the answer is just about coming back into your presence? Because the answer was actually just in front of us, which was, okay, we're in a hallway. Let's get this thing started, right? This is going to be experience that we are never going to forget. And I am never going to forget. That is what made that first in-person clinic so memorable. It became a gift of presence. And honestly, it was really amazing. It felt like we were in the Breakfast Club. It felt like it was one of those moments that feels like, oh my God, am I in a movie right now? Is someone filming this? That's what the movies are, right? We all love to watch the movies. Have we ever thought about the fact that we have the power to create that experience and we have the power to live those experiences? Even when you reflect on the things that you remember, the things that you really take away, whether they happened a year ago or 2 years ago or 10 years ago. Wasn't it usually when something didn't go quite as planned? When something was unexpected? Because it brought you what? It brought you into the presence of the moment. You couldn't just zone out. But it's those moments when we're caught in the middle of the rain. If you've ever seen the movie The Notebook, the most memorable scene is in the rain. It just takes away the veneer. It takes away the illusion of the security that we numb ourselves with. So how can we actually even see challenges that the universe presents to us as opportunities and gifts to come into more presence, to come into even more play? With the rain example, maybe you guys have stories too. You're like, oh my God, that thing that went wrong was so funny. Yeah, it sucked in the moment, but that was an adventure. And that's actually one of the lessons of the universe. Quantum shifts, and this is what's hard about them, they never happen from what is predictable. See, this is actually what really prevents people from being able to actually create change in their lives and be able to create a quantum shift. They're looking for the gift in what's predictable. They are not actually open because they don't feel safe in reality yet or safe in their body yet. They're not actually open to the unexpected. And yet that is an essential part of a quantum shift, because if it's expected, it's not really a true quantum shift where you're like, holy moly, I wasn't expecting that. And we are going to quantum shift to the level that we can actually detach from what we think the outcome needs to look like and how it needs to happen. But see, most of us, because of our fear, because of our control, energetically, we actually close ourselves off to real quantum shifts because we're like, yeah, I can't handle that. Because in the moment, it's going to feel like something's being ripped away from you, something's being taken away from you, maybe even suddenly. And you're like, I don't understand. And we are so unwilling to be and live in uncertainty. That's actually one of our biggest human flaws as a collective, is we are so unwilling to live in one day in uncertainty. For me, it was like a couple of hours of uncertainty. And then after like about a couple hours, we got used to being there and it was like, okay, this is what's happening now, right? Even if the room opens, it's not really going to change anything. Funny. The room opened when we were all done. Isn't that funny? Meaning the woman actually got back to us when we were all done, when we were all finished. What are the chances, right? That literally right when we finished, the woman got back to us and said, oh, you can open the room now. Because we weren't meant to be in the room. We were meant to be in the hallway. We were meant to share an uncomfortable moment that brought us back into presence, and that was a gift in disguise. Because I would not even want it to happen any other way. I'm actually super glad that we didn't get into that room. Because again, I wouldn't have been able to have that experience. And it was such a beautiful human experience, right? That showed, hey, look, we don't have to be perfect. In this process, things don't go perfect all the time, and that's okay. And can we accept it? And can we focus on what really matters? And can we be present with each other here? And can we open ourselves up to possibility here? And I'm still just imagining the people, like seeing the people exactly where they were, right? Raj, I can just see everyone. And by the way, if you were there, then leave a comment, be like, I was there. But I want you to take this into your own life. When something doesn't go right, how can you see the humor in it? How can you see the gift in it? How can you see that the universe is always working in your favor and giving you exactly what you need, whether a lesson, a challenge to then learn the lesson, or an opportunity to upgrade? Because that is what that weekend was for me. Because I will tell you, because like we went through that, first of all, I'm going to be more vigilant around booking things and all of that, which is going to be necessary for me. And then second of all, I know that I can handle something much bigger. Because if I can handle that in uncertainty, then I can handle something much bigger. So it really truly was a gift, because if everything went exactly the way it was supposed to, I wouldn't have been given an opportunity to experience the gift, learn and upgrade from the challenge. Now, here's where most people go wrong, right? They get a challenge and they go, oh, okay. And they beat themselves up. And then they torture themselves in self-pity, right? And they blame themselves and they go into despair, and they can't open themselves up to the lesson. They can't open themselves up to presence. They can't zoom back, right? And go, is this that big of a deal? Maybe you're attaching a little too hard to the outcome that you think you need, that you think you want, but it's actually not what your higher self wants or what your higher self needs. And your higher self is, hey, let's actually pull back a little bit because you're getting a little too attached to this and it's distorting you. Let's pull back. Let's look at it from a higher perspective, a greater perspective, right? So that we can actually see reality for what it is, not for what our patterns and our distortions and our insecurities and our fears are making it out to be. How much do we we just obsess over things that really, if you actually just take a step back, are not that big of a deal, or they don't even really necessarily move the needle for you, right? So the universe is always delivering you gifts, lessons, opportunities to upgrade if and only if you are open to receiving them. I'm going to come back next week with part 5, summing all of this up. But this channel is all about spirituality, manifestation, and energy. Until next time, I will see you all later.